Last night we watched some Babylon 5 episodes, and also we watched the film Carousel, which I think is a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. About some guy who is a really good singer, but for some reason he is also a thief and a bum a little bit. And then he goes up to heaven and speaks to the Star Master about going back to Earth again. And anyway, and about he gets a girl pregnant, and then he gets killed in an attempted robbery. Great. What a model citizen, and yet he can sing so good. Oh my goodness, I'm singing about how stupid I am and what a bum I am. Oh yes. I'm not sure the two go together. Good singing and good character. If you're a good singer, my friend, that means you might have pretty good character. Oh yeah. What do you think? Is that true? That might be true. So anyway, it was kind of absurd as far as the story goes, and the merging of a story about scummy stupid guy who sings very well. Oh goodness, well, I guess that just goes so you can make a musical about everything. Let's see, what else should they make a musical? Was Pulp Fiction a musical? Can't remember. Don't think so. Anyway, musicals don't go with every single story, and Carousel is a good example of that, in my opinion. Okay. In addition to that, let's see. Where is it? See? Carousel. But the Babylon 5 things were interesting. We're on to season 2. Disc number 5. It's pretty good stuff. First time I've taken my wife through the whole series. It's pretty good. Excuse me while I return the videos. Okay, so as far as other things going on, a few days ago I came across an article about how supposedly Philip Seymour Hoffman didn't have a choice, and neither do you. A choice with regard to being a druggie, a heroin druggie. And it was a really overly verbose article about this blogger's opinion about free will and how we don't have it, supposedly. But a good response to all that is comes from Daniel Dennett. And Daniel Dennett really recently wrote a very long and nice review of Sam Harris's book on free will. In fact, as Sam Harris notes, it's almost as long as Sam Harris's book itself. And Dennett basically talks about how Harris's book is good at dislodging from people's view the fact that we have kind of a homunculus, kind of an extra person watching in our brain, you know. An extra person who is kind of watching a view screen, kind of dislodging it, disavowing us or dislodging us from that supposition of having an extra homunculus in there watching the thing. And Dennett has also talked about how kind of consciousness is kind of a loop. I think he references another book with that name. But this whole deal, and Dennett goes into kind of a fair amount of detail in this review of Sam Harris's free will book. He goes into detail about how a lot of scientists think, oh, because we found out that humans are essentially incredibly complicated machines, and because you could, in theory, write some sort of equation that will determine all the states of a certain machine, that therefore means that we don't have free will. Now, in practice, though, it's really absurd. I mean, think about writing an equation that will determine the next 10 minutes of activities of your home computer or of your phone, of your iPhone. Pretty almost impossible task. And then multiply that by the incredible complexity of our own brains and our bodies. Every cell and what's going on in the cells, and then you also have to account for quantum indeterminacy, and maybe you can't write an equation that kind of deals with the fact that there's an exponential amount of indeterminate. The ability to determine things becomes exponentially more difficult. Just think about a pendulum swinging, you know. Even with a pendulum swinging, you can get that exponential inability to predict what's going to happen. So that is just one pendulum. Think about what it's like to determine what goes on with every little synapse, and then you have quantum indeterminacy, and maybe we have influences from other factors, environmental factors, external factors. You can't really account for those in your stupid little equation. And so, and then even if you did take the completely deterministic approach to the whole deal, still humans have more capacity to calculate, to choose between a good course of action and a crappy one, more than a carrot. We also have the ability to choose more than a lion, tiger, or bear. We also have the ability to choose more than a cat or a dog. We have the ability to choose more than any other animal on this planet. And so, the bottom line is free will, the level of free will is determined by the level of choice. And the Sam Harris talk about, okay, if every cell in your body became like a cell in my body, then you would no longer be you, you'd be me. I don't know what that means. It means nothing. Yeah, okay, but we both have brains, and our brains are pretty complicated, and we can use those brains to learn, we can use those brains to choice within degrees of freedom. So we do have free will, not because some God has granted it to us, but because we have highly complicated brains that are essentially complicated enough to make choices between complicated sets of choices. Now we are animals, and so there's a lot of influences going on into the system. You know, we have basic drives for things, food and sex and love, and there we have basic drives, things that make us happy, because we've been implanted with those because of our history. So anyway, the claim, and also when you hook a machine up to someone, and the machine can supposedly determine before a person says what their choice is. Does that automatically mean we don't have free will? No. It just means the machine is tying into the decision-making mechanism earlier than our verbal system is able to verbalize the decision. And when you ask people to make choices, choose between red and green randomly, or choose a number randomly, how does that system work? It's almost like going back to the God of the Gaps situation, if you just suddenly say, because I don't know how something works, that means therefore people don't have free will, and therefore we should just abandon responsibility for things. Was Philip Seymour Hoffman responsible for being a druggie who betrayed his family? If you answer no, then you're discounting the fact that he had a few things going on. He had a brain which presumably was complicated enough, more than your average carrot, to make a choice, to learn about what are the impacts of taking heroin on your life and on your brain. What are the impacts on your family? Let us learn about this situation. Did he have the ability to learn that or not? Huh? I think he did. And if you can admit that, then that means that he probably was responsible for what happened to him. So Philip Seymour Hoffman did have a choice, and so do we. The crack mother has a choice. Okay? The murderer has a choice. And even if we can state that, yes, a person's upbringing and whether they're a sociopath or psychopath or not may also have does also have some influence, but still, people have complicated enough brains to realize that there's going to be consequences. And we need consequences to lock up the dangerous people. So anyway, bottom line are people who have damaged brains, who are more dangerous because of it, they need to be locked up just the same way we keep lions, tigers, and bears locked up in zoos when people go visiting the zoos. So when people go visiting the zoos, they don't get killed, right? Okay. And when people have more choice, you can have varying levels of responsibility. It doesn't mean you don't have free will. And we should maybe rename free will to be kind of choice. How much choice do you have? What is the level of choice you have in a given situation? So anyway, that's my thoughts about that. You can also go online and check out where Daniel Dennett's speaking at a conference called Moving Naturalism Forward. Moving Naturalism Forward, hosted by Sean Carroll. That's S-E-A-N, Sean Carroll. Moving Naturalism Forward. And also check out Daniel Dennett's review of Sam Harris's book on free will, and so on and so forth. So, anyway, I'm all for early intervention with sociopaths and psychopaths. If there's some sort of gene therapy we could do to root them out, or make it so they people don't have that propensity, give people more of a conscience, I'm all for that. Locking up the dangerous outliers, that's good. But just because there are outliers doesn't mean people are absolved of responsibility for their actions, including Philip Seymour Hoffman, or Roman Polanski, or Woody Allen, or the Catholic priest who does similar things to Roman Polanski, or the guy who my gay nephew befriended after he was released from prison. Did he have free will as a scoutmaster to abuse the kids who were in his care? I think he did. Okay? And, anyway. Okay. That's it. Have fun.